Hello my friends and welcome. As you see, Ukraine propels in Pokrovsk direction, cutting more and more of the Russian armed forces. Yeah, as usual, the frontline update at the very beginning of the video, and here 225th Ukrainian Brigade went to Pankivka village. Well, you might say that the territorial gains are not that significant. Yes, if we speak about the square kilometers, or as in this case, probably even square meters. However, those villages as Pankivka, Mayak, they are very well defended. So it's not like the southern part of Donetsk region where Russia gains mostly tree lines and fields. No, for those villages there is significant fight. Every village here is like a small castle, a forepost that Ukraine takes using enormous resources. And unfortunately, Ukraine this year has less resources than the previous one. But at the same time, we see a successful operation done by Ukrainian army. So if Ukraine gains a little more territories and proceed to Mayak, in this case, Russian army would be cut entirely from supplies. There are not many forces left here, and in Kucheryev Yar, the Kucheryev Yar group of Russians is cut already for a very long time. And the third cut, I guess, will be in this area of villages Boykivka and Fedorivka, because Ukraine attacks from both of the sides towards Ruzzia and Novotroitsk. And of course, we see small counteroffensive operations of Ukrainian army elsewhere. Ukraine expands the bridgehead here. And somehow Russia still hesitates to use its major resource to attack Ukrainian positions in Pokrovsk. I guess they are losing their initiative. If in a few weeks they are not using their resource here, there will be significant circumstances for Russia in this region, which is good for us, of course, because Ukraine may even repel Russians from Pokrovsk. Well, from Mirnograd it is already happening. Let's go to the deep state here. They also updated the map. It was yesterday, it is today. We see that Ukraine liberated Pankivka, or the remains of this village, because it is completely destroyed. It is understandable. Mayak village is a little bit bigger, so Ukraine will have to spend more time for its liberation. But if Ukrainian forces do so, they will cut the entire Russian group in this region. Well, the deep state draws it as the red zone, and here is the red zone. However, different analytics publish different picture, that it is the gray zone. About the forces used here by Ukraine, I heard about 225th Brigade that I mentioned, but also the 1st Azov Corps reinforces operation. For now, I would say that the picture in Pokrovsk is pretty much positive for Ukraine, judging on what was happening roughly 1 month ago when Russians broke through Ukrainian defense. Ukrainian army is still very capable. Guys, we're gonna return to the front lines very soon. Now we have the breaking news coming from Poland. Again, drones were spotted. This is the official page of Donald Tusk, Prime Minister of Poland. Just now, the State Protection Service neutralized a drone operating over government buildings. Parkova and Belvedere, probably those are the names of the settlements. 2 Belarus citizens were detained. The police are investigating the circumstances of the incident. Oh, so we are not speaking here about Shahid drones which flown from the Russian territory to Ukraine or to Belarus and then to Poland. Here it's some sort of the spy drone operation of some of the agents of Russia or maybe even Belarus, because we are speaking about Belarus citizens. I think it's an important case because before Russia conducted some of the sabotage attack on territory of Poland and Germany and other European countries. You might remember that a couple of months ago those military tracks in Germany were burned down. And May this year, Poland accused Russia for the sabotage attack on a trade center, the mall of Mariwilska, which burned down completely. Polish officials noticed that they found a Russian trace here. We may openly say already that what Russia does in NATO countries is called a hybrid war, where hidden sabotage attacks in combination with a real military drone attacks are used. And stand by, there could be some of the Green Army men deployed without any sort of the patches, telling that they are local volunteers and they're out there to protect Russian speakers, Orthodox Church, or whatsoever. As always, Russia will find the reason for escalation. And let's check out what Russian officials say about the war with NATO. It is the most recent statement of the Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, where he told to RIA Novosti, that's the Russian media, that NATO is at war with Russia. This is obvious and requires no further proof. NATO is de facto involved in this war. NATO provides both indirect and direct support to Kiev. Therefore, it can be said with absolute certainty that NATO is at war with Russia. And you see how many times he tells about NATO war with Russia. NATO is at war with Russia. NATO is de facto involved in this war. And again, NATO is at war with Russia 3 of the times. Everything of that is in the small format of the text, so it's the real political already escalation from Russia, one more part of the hybrid war. But remember how just 5 days ago Russian drones went into Polish airspace, more than 20 of the drones, and Polish politicians say that, oh, it's not an attack, it's just an escalation. Yeah, of course. Russia says that it is at war with NATO, and NATO says, okay, it's nothing serious. Yeah, it's not even an attack. Yeah, NATO deployed some of the, few of the forces to Lithuania, to Poland, but it's not enough, of course, for the threat that Russia and Belarus, for example, possess there. Yeah, the most recent that United Kingdom together with France deployed the fighter jets. France sent Rafale and UK sent Typhoon fighter jets. Awesome fighter jet, you may see it here. But again, we are speaking about just few of the airplanes. It's not enough to get the air superiority in case of the full-scale Russian intervention. Yeah, I don't think that Russia might do it right now, but who knows? NATO should be ready for any sort of this scenario. And this video with Putin was recorded, I think, in July this year, where Putin hints that Russia has some sort of the right even on Polish land. So thanks to Stalin's stance, Poland gained considerable land in the West. That is exactly how it was. So it's like a present of Stalin for Poland to get those territories, gain those territories. Yes, Poland's western territories are Stalin's gift to the Poles. Have our friends in Warsaw, so in Poland, forgotten that, then we will remind them. And there is absolutely no wrong understanding possible. It's definitely a threat from Russia towards Poland, from Putin himself. As we know, Putin's roof is absolutely out there in a space. He's totally crazy in this deep history, which he thinks is real, but de facto it's not. It was already understandable from Putin's interview which he gave to Tucker Carlson, where they half an hour at least were speaking about some old centuries of Russia and Ukraine and others and how they deal between each other. The guy is really sick. His place is in the mental institution, but somehow he is a Russian president. The same goes for other president across the ocean. Oh, sorry, that speech was posted actually a long time ago, at least 1 year from what I see, or maybe even 2 years. Yeah, but I think that Putin hasn't changed his mind since that time. And before the start of the full-scale war against Ukraine, Putin called Bolsheviks and Lenin as the author of Ukraine. So Ukraine is a made-up state by Bolsheviks and Lenin. Ukraine never had a tradition of genuine statehood. So you see, yeah, where it goes. By the way, there was the proposal from the Polish Foreign Minister Sikorski to close the sky over Ukraine or part of Ukraine, to intercept the Russian drones before they're entering airspace of NATO. Well, actually, it's the good idea, the prompt reaction, but unfortunately, I don't see how it could be implemented with weak NATO reaction. Well, Russian officials heard that idea and they start to counter-react to it. So Medvedev, who is a barking mouse of Putin, stated that if Europe shuts down Russian drones in Ukraine, over Ukraine, it means the war with Russia. But you know what? Peskov said that NATO is already at war with Russia, so what are the changes? Kind of strange, they cannot agree their rhetorics among each other. Sorry guys, one more breaking news. We have India crosses red line by joining Russia-Belarus war games. Wow! Narendra Modi has sent troops to take part in the Zapad exercises, rehearsing conflict with neighboring NATO countries as relations with the United States unravel. Wow. Here in the article they speak about up to 100 soldiers, so it's the symbolic gesture of India. And I know the answer why India did it. It's because United States of America, or it's better to say Donald Trump's administration, is pushing India to purchase American oil, not the Russian one. It was the main reason for Donald Trump to apply extra tariffs on Indian products. Not because Trump loves Ukraine, but because he wants money. But India tells, no, don't press on us. Well, actually, I don't like Indian policy because they're purchasing Russian oil and they help Russia to sustain its economy. But the problem here lies with absolute failure of the international policy of the current White House administration. It's their fault. And it's the sign not to Ukraine that India deployed those forces, it's the sign to United States and to Trump personally. But you know, even the United States of America sent its officers to monitor Belarus military drills. They arrived today. It was agreed with Belarus side. So those two officers will be presented somewhere. But the drills are happening not at the specific spot, they're happening elsewhere in many of the bases. So those two guys, they will not be aware about what is happening, about those provocations. Yeah, so you may say that United States also joined those drills. Right, one more breaking news. Why do we have those breaking news by the time I'm filming the video? So one more alleged cartel boat was captured by United States military in Caribbean Sea. Well, at least I don't see many people as in the previous case, where it's kind of strange to have the cartel boat full of people. 11 persons were before, like a couple of days ago, then the United States struck the boat, and here is one more case. Clearly there was the person and the boat is gone. For now, I'm not sure of how many people were inside, and I hope that someday Pentagon will provide us with some of the real evidence that those were definitely drug dealer boats. Yeah, this boat definitely looks like it. There are some of the engines, more than one at least, and there could be the cargo here or up front, but it's not the evidence. Like the boat construction is not the real evidence that it definitely transported some of the drugs. There should be a real evidence. Otherwise, it could be classified as the war crime. I'm saying you from the international law perspective. But JD Vance says it doesn't matter how it's called, they will continue those strikes. But it seems like the boat was so important that even freaking Donald Trump wrote this huge post on his Truth Social. This morning, on my orders, United States military conducted a second kinetic strike against positively identified extraordinary violent drug trafficking cartel in the Southcom area of responsibilities. Strike occurred while these confirmed dealers from Venezuela were in international waters transporting illegal substances. Okay, I'll call it like this for YouTube. Well, if it is a confirmed case, I would like to see that confirmation, please. Because whether we like it or not, we don't have any sort of the confirmation rather than confirmation coming from Donald Trump. And I wouldn't trust this person at all. Venezuela's dictator Nicolas Maduro, yeah, you may definitely call him a dictator, says that America is preparing for military aggression against Venezuela. Well, for now, I'm not sure about this military action that the United States might do there. Well, maybe just a limited one, some of the Tomahawk missiles, but not the intervention. For that, they need air carriers, which are not yet being deployed there. I don't know why this video was posted with this post, but there are no air carriers. Oh yeah, here we have photo of Indian soldiers deployed to military exercise Zapad 2025. Yeah, it's legit. Alright, and now let's go back to the front lines. This is the Sumy region, Alexeyevka village. The situation there for the Russian army is critical. Well, at least we heard how Russians complain in their social media. Russian military bloggers, they say that they're up to be encircled in Alexeyevka. By the way, not long time ago, Ukraine gained more ground in Kindrativka and moved more to Konstantinivka. So Ukraine tries to cut Russians in this area. There is one supply road that goes from the other village, but Russians might use one more field road for supplies. We'll see how it goes for Ukraine. Tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, I hope for the positive changes. Alexeyevka should be covered with blue, absolutely. And Ukraine will go further and further because Russia lost its strategic initiative in Sumy. Speaking about the front lines, I want to point out again an important location of Kupiansk city because Russia propels further. They expanded the gray area into several of the blocks of the city itself. So it was yesterday. It is today. A couple of the crossroads where the fight is ongoing already. It's gonna be very hard for Ukraine to kick Russians out from Kupiansk. I still hope that it's gonna be like that, but the chances, I would say, are low. It seems like Russia precisely planned this operation and the Ukrainian defense was definitely weak. The tube operation towards Radkivka actually helped Russia a lot. So Kupiansk, I would say that I'm the most concerned about this direction. Plus, Russia also propels in Zaporizhia, Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk regions. This is the border of those three oblasts, and it was yesterday, it is today. You may see minor changes, but still Russia, for example, moved towards Novoivanivka village. Yes, not good here, but the good news that in the main directions like Konstantinivka, Pokrovsk, Mirnograd, Russia really doesn't have any sort of the success. But for other directions, unfortunately, Ukraine is in lack of the resources to send emergency forces to stop Russian assaults. But those Russian assaults are still very limited compared to the previous months. Yeah, I see the decline in the Russian pace, but judging on the accumulation of their forces, and they deploy those in Donetsk, in Horlivka, I think that Russia might attack somewhere in Pokrovsk or Konstantinovka. Now the internet connection on the front lines is very important for our drone operators to receive the signal from the surveillance drones and for FPV drone operators to hit precisely targets. Starlinks really help, but today Magyar reported about the outage with the signal. Unfortunately, Starlink was down for several hours. Yeah, report indicated the signal loss, but from what I know so far, it was restored, so Starlink operate as normally. Yes, I might have my personal attitude towards Elon Musk. I think he's really an evil man. By the way, I recorded the video about it on my trash channel, other channel. I call it trash because I film about everything out there. There today I posted the video about techno-fascism and the threat from Elon Musk to America and to Europe. But I might admit at the same time that products Elon Musk creates, they are very useful, especially Starlinks, but Ukrainian volunteers again have to pay for those Starlinks. There is no more discount, nothing, just the standard purchase install. Luckily, many of the volunteers, they help. Well, before there was discount for Ukraine by 30%, but it's no longer valid. And Russians also continue to use their Starlink, so Starlink company doesn't do anything to block the signal for Russians. Sadly. So yeah, my channel is called Captain Dennis. You may check it out. It's in the video description just below. Thank you. And the separate thanks for my Patreon supporters. Again, the link for my Patreon is also in the video description below. Guys, you are doing a fantastic job to motivate me to film more of the videos or produce more quality content. Thank you so much for it again. And for everyone, well guys, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.